When the war started, I had finished high school, and by the way, sometimes I had to walk from the 5th line over to Coyne Schoolhouse, down the 7th line, to see my girlfriend on Sumner Avenue and walk back. So that was when it was just a concrete single-lane road. And my grandfather and I used to have once a year had to grade the shoulders to level those up from Drumquin to Postville, back up to Hornby, back down to Drumquin again. Anyway, I was working for, I guess, in late '39 for Harry Pickett, who had Pickett's Mill, which is now Wrensville. And when we knew, although we were both working for farmers, and figured if we really wanted to work at it, we could have escaped going into the war because we were producing food, sort of thing. We thought that if we did get conscripted, we'd be told what to do and where to go. And we would, if we wanted to make some more decisions of our own future, maybe we better join up. So then, as I told you before, we each married our girlfriends, and I joined up the week after we got married. And I don't think my wife was very happy about that until she understood what was going on. Now, in those days, in the early part of the war, in a large bomber, the wireless air gunner ran the radio and also ran the gun in the belly of the plane. There was 4 positions. There was a nose gunner, a mid-upper gunner, a tail gunner, and a mid-under. But by the time I got there in '43, they had changed that to what they called H2S, which is a scanner, which will tell whatever is happening underneath your plane, pick up towns and changes in landscape and rivers and so on. So did that, and then our air operations was in St. Catharines to learn to handle the radio and so on in St. Catharines, and then bombing at gunnery school was in Jarvis, and all of these things are recorded in the Warplane Heritage Museum in Mount Hope. And I was in there one day and happened to meet a lady. You were in Jarvis, yeah? Well, she says, I met my boyfriend when I was when you guys were in Jarvis, sort of thing. So, and they're working out of this museum, sort of thing. And then we went overseas, and that's when I wondered whether air crew was the right thing for me, because on the boat I found that we were pretty well crowded in, and we get down into the hold of the boat, and when we took off from Halifax, it was a little rough once you got out on the sea. So yeah, sometimes I had to stand up, and then I wondered about maybe I shouldn't go into air crew. But I found that if I could watch how the horizon was going to change, I could stand without, I didn't eat too much before going on a plane. So we went to England and had some training there in what they call Anson's. We called the Flying Greenhouse, and training in different parts of England. I ended up in Middleton, St. George, in what they call 6th Group, in air crew, in the squadron was 419 Squadron. It was called the Moose Squadron, and did a few ops. I didn't do as many ops as some people because we didn't get there early enough. And then we trained to fly home to take a little bit of a holiday and go to the Far East with the plane, in the plane. And the plane that we had assigned to us was M. Mike, and all the planes had a letter sort of thing. And we trained in that thing, all ready to fly home by the Azores and go to the West Coast and get out. One day, the CO of 6th Group, Black Mike McEwen, we called him, he was touring our drone, and he looked over, oh, that's our plane, that's M. Mike, that's my plane. My crew will fly that home. So by this time, they'd taken a number of planes up out of the graveyard and fixed them up. There wasn't anything left for us, so we had to wait an extra 3 months at Torquay on the south coast of England, waiting to come home, going to movies and bars. That's the first time I started drinking beer. I never drank before. But anyway, and the sixth group was a bombing group, and if we were working with the RAF, most of it was with night flights, and every crew was responsible for doing their own thing, the timing, what they would do, and so on. You would have a certain exact time to be at a certain place and drop the bombs and get out of there. While we were, when we went over there, you got crewed up right away. So you were being trained with pilots, co-pilots, engineers, gunners, navigators, and so on. And there's a couple of things that are kind of interesting. The first time that I was asked to get an MF fix. Now, an MF fix is a medium frequency fix that you see when you're flying on operations. You don't mess around by sending a lot of stuff on the radio. You listen to some things and you jot them down. But if it's a real emergency, you can bang in with the Morse code and so on. But the other thing you can do is you can get a fix on your position to help the navigator, and that is there's 3 radio stations, 3 situated in different parts of the ground. You put in you want a fix, and they respond, and they tell you when to send your signal, and they take a reading so that you got no. Well, all that takes a few minutes, and the interesting thing was the first time I was asked for an MF fix for the navigator, he says, "Hey, I want an MF fix now." He had to have the time of where it was. You get that, and you take the time when I give it to you. That's all there is to that. The other interesting thing was, it was a sad thing. We got a conversion unit, I guess. We were flying on Wellingtons, we call them Wimpies. And we went before you got into operations. You did some things to divert. We call it windowing. That is, you fly over close, over the North Sea, close to Europe, and put out these streams of aluminum foil to block off the radio signals. And we come back. To the station, and we didn't hit the station. We hit the other station. We had a satellite station. Happened to be on the same line as that one. We landed on the satellite station after one of these. Oh my God! What are those? When we land, I would look out the windows and see. And the minute our gunner and I were saying, "We never saw that building before. We never saw that building before." We'd landed at the satellite station, and of course. The skipper said, "Oh, give me the angle to the home station," but they wouldn't let us take off. We had to stay overnight, sort of thing. So that was kind of embarrassing, but it was funny. And there were sad times. There were times, and you'd see the ground crew when we returned from operations start counting the planes. Searching out who didn't come back and whose friend they were and so on, because you got some people got pretty close acquaintance with some of the ground people, and that was sometimes very sad. Although I never was on the ground in Europe, going to the Netherlands and to Belgium and to parts of France, those people, if they know you were a veteran and they see you're a Canadian, you just can't spend any money. They just won't let you do anything. They're so grateful. The thing that they do in the Netherlands that really impressed us is the people that help look after the memorials and the graveyards and so on. Many times they're school teachers, and they teach their children keep talking to your neighbors. Keep understanding their wants and needs. And make sure they understand yours. Otherwise, we'll have a World War III sort of thing. Make sure you understand what's going on around you, which, and this is done through the schools, and this is why that thing that goes on in Acton and Georgetown with the school children, and the Silent March every June, involving the school children coming up to see the veterans, and I think it's kind of important. We finished our last lights in, would it be early '45, I guess, yeah. We only did about, our crew only, it was a remustered crew. Some of them had been with other crews, and so we only did, I think, 4 ops. But I've lost my logbook, and all the moves and so on, back and forth. But one day, the American people had to divert to our aerodrome in Wellsburn, Melbourne, because of weather, and then we combined with them in a loose formation called a gaggle to do a couple of daylight runs. We never wanted to do another one because we could see all the accidents that would happen when you get that many large planes all together, and so we wanted to go on our own and do night bombing. So very fortunate, finished up there, and it was over, war was over. And as I was telling you before, came home, took my training at Guelph as a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture in what they call agricultural engineering, farm mechanics. Spent 4 years there. Graduated from there, went down to Ridgetown to the Western Ontario Agricultural School, which is now part of the University of Guelph, and started out there teaching, starting up their farm mechanics course. And after 3 years of that, went with some McMillan Bodell lumber company to show local lumber dealers how to service the farm market with plywood, wood products, and so on. And got transferred, started out in Ontario, got transferred to British Columbia, back to Ontario, transferred to Nova Scotia Patrol, back to, from there to British Columbia again, from there back to Ontario, from there to Halifax, from there back to here, changed to Noranda, and that's our life. Our kids were all, we were damn fortunate to have all our kids here, because 3 of them went with us to Nova Scotia the first time, and to Vancouver, and then we left 1 here, and then we left 2 more here the next time we went to Nova Scotia, and she came back with us, so our family's still all here. We've had 1 semi-reunion. There was that one chap, the mid-upper gunner, was in Kitchener, and the navigator, McFerrin, he was out west, and he did come home one time, and we had, when I was going to Guelph to school there in the 50s, we did have a reunion there, but that's the time we did that. Borland is in the real estate business, was in the real estate business in Toronto, and that the pilot, he wasn't really a big communicator, as I recall, sort of thing. We didn't get to know him that. And that's about the story. Then we, as I say, we worked coast to coast twice, a fair bit of work in the U.S. and a little bit in the United Kingdom afterwards, including a couple of days in Ireland. And 65 years ago this October, we were married here in Oakville, but we're now back. We've owned, I guess, 4 houses in Oakville during the course of our transfers, and altogether, I guess we've lived in about 25 different places in our lifetime, so in our married lifetime. with 4 kids, 10 grandkids, a couple of grand-in-laws, and now 5 great-grandkids. So that's the story of my life, but I guess so far.